this one.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Modi Gambhir. Let's get started. Our top story tonight on Gravitas is on a big blot by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The Israeli Prime Minister had planned a high-stakes military strike on Iran's nuclear facilities, beginning as early as next month. What is known about the plan? Was Netanyahu's plot too much for Donald Trump? We tell you why this question is being asked. That's coming up in just a bit, and here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We tell you all about the secret mission to transport the wealth of the ousted Syrian leader, Assad. You do not want to miss this. We also tell you all about Ukraine's revenge attack against Russia and the latest from the battlefield. All this and more coming up. Tonight on Gravitas, we tell you all about a mission so audacious that it mirrored the most daring Israeli raids in modern history, one that could have been the fuse to one of the most explosive confrontations in West Asia, triggering a full-scale regional war. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had planned a high-stakes military strike on Iran's nuclear facilities beginning as early as next month. And this was not just any other drill. It consisted of a plan complete with airstrikes, commandos, based on a Syria-style raid conducted by Israel last September. But US President Donald Trump blocked the plan, instead choosing to pivot towards diplomacy with Tehran. The Trump administration made it clear to Israel that there was no green light for the strikes, at least not yet. And according to reports, the Israeli government had drawn up various plans to bomb Iranian nuclear sites in the month of May, just weeks from now, aiming to delay Tehran's nuclear weapons capability by at least a year or possibly more. But here's the caveat. Israel needed American support, not just to defend Israel from Iranian retaliation, but also to ensure that an Israeli attack was successful. For the plan, Israel had sought America's most devastating bunker-busting bomb, a 30,000-pound bunker buster that could reach deep depths beneath Iran's mountainous nuclear sites. And along with the airstrikes, Netanyahu also wanted to execute commando raids at the nuclear sites with the help of the US. In a nutshell, this was a far more ambitious version of the recent operation in Syria. Last year, Israeli commandos, remember, flew by helicopter into Syria, rappelled into an underground Hezbollah bunker and obliterated it. That operation combined airstrikes, special forces, rapid mobilization. While it was successful, it's important to remember that Syria is not Iran. Iran is larger, better defended, far more armed. Unlike Hezbollah's facilities in Syria, Iran's nuclear sites are scattered across the country, heavily fortified and buried deep underground. And attacking them is not just about firepower, it's about geography, logistics, consequences. The nuclear sites, after all, are located thousands of kilometers from Israel. And unlike Syria, this is not a neighbor-to-neighbor operation. The closest flight path between Israel and Iran spanning over 900 kilometers. Most of Iran's nuclear infrastructure is over 2,000 kilometers away, and that distance complicates just about everything. In fact, Saudi Arabia and Jordan have made it clear that they would not grant Israel or the US their air bases for any operation against Iran. One alternative would require Israeli warplanes to fly along the Red Sea, circle around Yemen and Oman, and hit targets along Iran's southern coast. A one-way trip of nearly 4,700 kilometers. The other option and the fastest access to northern Iranian sites is through Syria and Iraq. But let's just zoom out for now. Like we said earlier, Iran is not Syria, it's not Hezbollah, it's a regional superpower in military terms. With an arsenal of ballistic missiles, explosive drones, proxy militias spread from Lebanon to Iraq, Iran's arsenal including ballistic missiles that can strike targets over 1,700 kilometers away. If Iran were attacked, it wouldn't just retaliate against Israel. It has made it clear it would strike American bases. Now, after abandoning the commando raid plan, Israeli and US officials pivoted to discuss a week-long bombing campaign beginning in early May. And that plan included airstrikes to eliminate Iranian air defenses that could clear the path for deeper strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. Netanyahu's last-minute trip to the White House earlier this month reportedly was to persuade and push Trump for a go-ahead on the strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities. But inside the Trump administration, opinion was sharply divided. On one side, CENTCOM Commander General Michael Kurilla and the National Security Advisor Mike Waltz advocated for support. They explored scenarios. They reviewed logistics. They even examined possible US strikes should Trump decide to authorize them. But others within the administration urged caution. The US Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, assessed that a strike on Iran would invite retaliation not just against Israel but against America as well, leading to a wider conflict. And she wasn't alone, by the way. US Vice President J.D. Vance, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, all sided with restraint. And their warning was clear. Supporting Netanyahu's plan could unleash a chain reaction no one could control. And in the end, Trump agreed. He shelved the plan and chose diplomacy. And Trump even used his meeting with Netanyahu to announce that the United States would instead enter talks with Iran to limit its nuclear ambitions. So the next question tonight is not just about one strike that did not happen, it's about the next move. Iran is a country prepared for war, and if diplomacy fails this Saturday in the talks between the US and Iran, the fallout would not just be in Tehran or Tel Aviv for that matter, it could spread across West Asia. And America is escalating the war on the Houthis. Meanwhile, in just 24 hours, the US unleashed over 68 airstrikes, its heaviest barrage in weeks, hammering command centers, weapons depots, command centers, missile launch sites for that matter. Videos from the US Central Command showing the decks of aircraft carriers lighting up day and night, with jets being launched in relentless waves. The night sky over the Red Sea erupting in fire and thunder. On the deck of the USS Carl Vinson, American soldiers rushing missiles, slotting them under the wings of F-35 stealth jets and F-A-18s. The carrier's deck is a hive of activity, missiles loaded, engines roaring, flight crews signaling to go ahead. And one by one, American warplanes screaming into the darkness, their afterburners painting blue streaks across the horizon. On target are Houthi strongholds deep inside Yemen. The USS Harry S. Truman joining that assault, doubling America's airborne firepower in the region. It's a show of force not seen since the opening days of Operation Rough Rider, the largest US campaign in West Asia during President Trump's second term. Since March 15, American jets have been regularly bombing Houthi targets. And despite suffering the heavy bombardment, the Iran-backed group has launched daring attacks. It has claimed to target American aircraft carriers with missiles and drones. In fact, the Houthis have also fired ballistic missiles at Israel. While America says it is determined to restore freedom of navigation in the crucial waterways, the air campaign is precise but devastating. Missiles raining down on Sana'a, Marib, Hodeidah, flattening military bases. The Houthis have said the American bombardment has targeted several residential areas and killed over 120 civilians. And our next story is about a secret mission to smuggle former Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad's hidden wealth out of the country. An investigative report by news agency Reuters revealing how during the final days of his regime, Assad used a private jet to move large sums of cash, valuables, documents to Abu Dhabi. According to the report, there were 4 flights made by the plane in the days leading up to Assad's fall from power, with the last flight leaving a Russian military base. And here's what the report says. As the rebel forces closed in on Damascus, Assad, who ruled Syria with an iron fist for 24 years, was busy using a private jet to evacuate not just his treasures, but also important documents that outlined the network behind his massive financial empire. The man who secretly helped achieve this? Yasser Ibrahim. He was Assad's top economic advisor, and according to the report, a key figure in organizing the leasing of the plane. Yasser Ibrahim reportedly arranged the leasing of the plane that would transport Assad's assets, Assad's relatives, Assad's aides, and presidential palace personnel to the UAE. Coming back to the topic of the smuggling, according to Reuters, an Embraer Legacy 600 jet was reportedly used to make 4 back-to-back trips to Syria. The plane, which has the tail number CS Sky, is registered in Gambia. Most importantly, these flights took place within just 48 hours before Assad's regime crumbled on December 6 as the rebels, led by HDS, marched towards Damascus. The jet reportedly approached Damascus International Airport, and at first, the jet left Dubai on December 6 and landed in Damascus around noon local time. It then flew to Al Batin Airport and was back in Damascus after 10 p.m. And each time it landed, cars reportedly rushed towards the plane, stayed for a short time, and then left just before the plane took off again. On December 7, the jet was back in Damascus around 4 p.m. and left for Al Batin for a third time over an hour later, and then on the 8th of December. Remember, the rebel fighters reached Damascus, prompting Assad to flee. Damascus airport stopped operating. But shortly after midnight that day, the jet reportedly left Al Batin one last time. After passing over the city of Homs, which is located north of Damascus, the jet reportedly dropped off flight tracking coverage for about 6 hours before reappearing over Homs, headed back to Abu Dhabi. During that window, the report says it landed at the Hamimim base in the Latakia province, which is a Russia-operated base. And according to Reuters, on December 8, the final flight left from this base, which coincides with Assad's own escape to Russia from the same location. As per Reuters, which cites information gathered from 14 sources, which includes airport staff and former intelligence officers, the jet transported unmarked bags holding at least $500,000 in cash. Also flown out of the country were key documents, as well as electronic devices like laptops and hard drives that reportedly contained crucial intelligence about Assad's extensive network of businesses. Why is this being reported now? According to Reuters, the new Syrian government, led by Ahmad al-Shara, is reportedly determined to recover any public funds smuggled out during Assad's downfall. This is because Syria, as one can imagine, is grappling with ongoing economic challenges and sanctions in the aftermath of Assad's ouster. As his regime was crumbling, the involvement of high-ranking security forces to aid Assad's network seemed to suggest that Assad was aware and perhaps direct in implementing this evacuation plan. Now, according to the report, more details will be uncovered as the investigation continues. And we now turn our attention to the Russia-Ukraine war. Kiev is directly targeting Russian territory in what looks like a bold campaign of retaliation. Russia's defense ministry claiming it intercepted or destroyed 71 Ukrainian drones overnight. These drones targeted 6 separate Russian regions. The Kursk region bore the brunt of the attack. 49 drones were allegedly shot down there alone. Others were intercepted in Oryol, Bryansk, Vladimir, Tula. Ukrainian drones also struck the town of Shua, just east of Moscow. Shua, nearly 1,150 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, was hit for a second consecutive night. Shua houses a key Russian missile brigade, which Ukraine blames for the devastating missile strike on Sumy on Sunday that killed at least 35 people. On Telegram, Ukraine's Air Force saying that Russian troops had fired a missile at Sumy, later adding that Russian warplanes were dropping guided bombs on the city. So the attack on Shua may not just be about drones. Ukraine is perhaps sending out a message. Meanwhile, Russia continues its air campaign against Ukraine. Overnight, Russian drones struck several villages in the Sumy region, damaging homes, vehicles, infrastructure. In the Dnipro, Russia launched a deadly drone attack. And according to the region's governor, at least 3 people died in these and more than 30 people were injured. One of the strikes landed just 100 meters from the city hall. And at least 15 residential areas were struck in the city. Visuals of the aftermath of the attacks showing buildings ripped apart, streets littered with glass and rubble. Ukraine's air defense forces claiming they destroyed 25 drones and jammed 30 more during the latest Russian assault. As the bombs fall, diplomacy trudges on. High-level Ukrainian officials have arrived in Paris for urgent talks with both European and American leaders. And among those at the table is the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff, as well as the French President Emmanuel Macron. Ukraine's message is clear. It wants stronger support, more weapons, and a push for peace. But then there is growing unease in Kiev about America's shifting tone. You see, Ukraine fears Washington may be softening towards Moscow. Russia says talks on a peace settlement are ongoing, but has accused Europe of stretching the war. Listen to this.
You know, the meeting was extremely productive, but, as I said before, many people, structures, and countries are trying to disrupt our dialogue with the United States. There is very active propaganda against Russia in the United States in various mass media, so it is very important to convey the Russian position directly, and this was certainly done, and a very useful dialogue is underway.
U.S. President Donald Trump has vowed to end what he calls the bloodbath. But so far, there's no sign of progress, only more blood, more fire, and now a new level of retaliation altogether. An American-owned food company, now under Russian control, is preparing to feed the Russian army. Meanwhile, internal documents reviewed by Reuters confirming the Kremlin's plans to use the seized U.S. firm to supply canned food to Russian defense forces. It was once a private company owned by the Los Angeles-based Leonid Smirnov company that fell into Russian hands last October. The Russian government, through its Federal Property Management Agency, now oversees all operations, making the company the only American-owned business in Russia to be nationalized since the Russia-Ukraine war. The move coming at a time when Washington and Moscow are attempting to revive diplomatic channels and seek a path to end the Russia-Ukraine war. The company's fate has become a political issue, in fact. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said the company's seizure will be part of the broader talks aimed at rebalancing U.S.-Russia ties. Russian authorities reportedly justified the takeover as essential to maintain food production lines, especially those serving the National Guard and the Defense Ministry. The company's new management has written to Russia's Prosecutor General, laying out these military priorities. And this is not an isolated case, interestingly. The Kremlin has taken over subsidiaries of nearly a dozen European firms, including giants like Carlsberg and Fortum. And the Kremlin has warned that more seizures could follow. On to breaking news coming in right this minute. In a landmark decision, the U.S. District Judge has ruled that Google unlawfully monopolized key segments of the online advertising technology market. Very significant. Let's tell you more about the verdict. Of course, it marks a significant setback for the tech giant in an antitrust case brought by the U.S. Department of Justice. And for over a decade, Google has locked publishers and advertisers into its ad tech ecosystem, in a way wielding its publisher ad server and ad exchange as twin weapons to crush competition and also dictate terms. So the ruling opens the doors for prosecutors to actually seek structural remedies, and that includes And the DOJ has previously suggested that Google should divest parts of its ad tech operations like Google Ad Manager. In fact, Google has argued that the DOJ's case focuses on outdated practices and ignores competition from other tech companies like Amazon and Comcast. The company, meanwhile, maintains that its tools serve legitimate business purposes and benefit consumers. Let's get in further details now from our correspondent Susan Teherani with us from New York. Susan, what more can you share with us at this point? Very significant developments.
Absolutely significant, Molly. And the reason it matters is because of three things. First of all, it opens the door for a forced breakup of Google ad tech businesses, possibly forcing it to spin off or divest core assets like its ad exchange. It could also reshape how digital ads work across the internet in the future. It'll impact publishers, advertisers, even platforms like YouTube will be affected. And it also signals that the tech antitrust crackdown is real and it's escalating, especially under former President Joe Biden and now President Donald Trump. So now we have to wait and see what these remedies are going to be. But Google's options seem to be narrowing right now.
Indeed. We're leaving it there for the moment, Susan. Of course, coming back to you for further updates later.
तुम्हारी अगली 10 नस्लें भी नहीं लेके जा सकती।
And we are shifting focus for now to Pakistan. The story is about a recent, rather outrageous speech by the Pakistan Army Chief, General Asim Munir. And it has sparked quite a debate. It has become a matter of concern, particularly in New Delhi. Addressing a gathering of Pakistanis living abroad, General Munir stressed on the importance of Kashmir, calling it Pakistan's jugular vein. He emphasized on the importance of keeping the Kashmir issue front and center in Pakistan's national conversation. In fact, he spoke about the two-nation theory, which is the foundation for Pakistan's creation in 1947. He said he believes Pakistanis and Indians differ significantly in terms of religion, culture, aspirations. He told Pakistanis based abroad that they were the country's ambassadors and must not forget that they belong to, quoting, a superior ideology and culture. Listen into this.
Our religion is different. Our customs are different. Our traditions are different. Our thoughts are different. Our ambitions are different. That was the foundation of the two-nation theory that was laid there. That we are two nations. We are not one nation. So because of that, our forefathers, they struggled, mounted that incessant struggle to create this country. Our forefathers, they have sacrificed immensely, and we have sacrificed a lot for the creation of this country, and we know how to defend it.
For the unversed, in the years before independence of India, the two-nation theory was the basis for the movement demanding a separate state for Muslims. The movement was led, among others, by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who went on to become the first Governor-General of Pakistan. But here's the thing. The two-nation theory ran contrary to the idea of common history and heritage that India and Pakistan share. It also goes against tenets of secularism. Stressing his point, the Pakistan Army Chief said that India and Pakistan are two nations, so he urged his audience to share Pakistan's story with the younger generation so they appreciate their roots. He also addressed concerns about investment in Pakistan due to the country's problem with terrorism. He stated that terrorist groups will not succeed in overpowering its armed forces. He told his audience that the military would take firm action against separatist movements in Balochistan. It was quite a stirring speech, to say the least. But what was it all about? What's behind the speech? For a country where military and politics are so intertwined, General Munir's remarks essentially setting the tone for Pakistan's stand on several issues, especially how it approaches its relations with India. General Munir reinforced the two-nation theory to conjure up a sense of belonging and foster a sense of national unity, especially when the country is facing a challenging time. His remarks also positioning the armed forces as the defenders of Pakistan's Islamic identity and sovereignty. And then you have the bluster about Kashmir. It's very clear, despite its economic woes and rampant security issues, Kashmir remains at the heart of its politics, and Islamabad has no plans to let it go. Remember, General Munir was speaking to overseas Pakistanis, many of whom support Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister who is currently imprisoned and contesting election results. It raises a rather interesting question. Is Munir trying to present a more nationalistic front than Khan? India, of course, has slammed the Pakistan Army chief's statement, saying that Kashmir is a union territory of India and its only relationship with Pakistan is the vacation of illegally occupied territories by that country. Listen in.
Your question on the comments. See, how can anything foreign be in there in a jugular vein? This is a union territory of India. Its only relationship with Pakistan is the vacation of illegally occupied territories by that country.
The fact is, there has been an upsurge in the terrorist activities in Pakistan, especially in areas deprived of basic facilities like electricity, fuel. We are talking about Balochistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, where the ordinary citizens have been facing poverty and discrimination and general frustration, which often manifests itself in terror activities. So then, was the Pakistan Army chief trying to hide the military's failure in containing the rising violence in certain parts of Pakistan, especially where communities are voicing their grievances due to poverty and neglect? And before we go on, here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. What made the Russian President Vladimir Putin praise Elon Musk and compare him to a Soviet space hero? We get you the complete story. That's coming up on Gravitas, quote unquote. Is America's health chief contradicting the established science on autism causes? We tell you more about what he said and the questions that have been triggered. In a groundbreaking discovery, the most definitive signs of life have been found on a distant planet. You don't want to miss this. It's coming up shortly. On to India now. The country's Supreme Court continued its hearings on a bunch of petitions against the contentious Waqf Act amendments for the second day today. The Parliament had passed the amendments to the Act early this month. Hearing a bunch of petitions challenging the Waqf Act, the top court directed the central government to file its response on the amendments to the Act in 7 days. It also directed that no Waqf property registered under the 1995 Waqf Act will be denotified till its next hearing. Also, no new appointments will be made to the council or the board of Waqf till the next hearing. The hearing saw sharp exchanges between the bench and the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta when the judges questioned the logic behind permitting non-Muslims in Waqf governance, while a similar reciprocity did not apply to Hindu religious endowments. The bench asked Mehta, and I'm quoting, "Are you suggesting that Muslims could now be part of Hindu endowment boards as well? Please state it openly," quote unquote. And representing the central government, the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta said, "The government will not denotify Waqf by deed and Waqf by user properties till the next hearing. The petitioners can file their response to the centre's reply in 5 days." The Supreme Court bench had earlier noted there were some positive aspects in the amended law and that a complete stay on the legislation was not warranted. The government notified the Waqf Amendment Act 2025 that received assent of the President on April 5. The Parliament passed the bill earlier this month after marathon debates in both houses, but thereafter a series of petitions were filed in the Supreme Court, with the opposition and a section of the Muslim community opposing some of the provisions of the law that critics say are against minority rights and interests. The U.S. state of Georgia has proposed a bill to formally recognize Hinduphobia and anti-Hindu prejudice via legislation. And this marks the first such statutory measure taken by a U.S. state. The Senate Bill 375, introduced on the 4th of April by a group of Georgia state senators, seeks to define Hinduphobia explicitly and also included under laws which prohibit discrimination based on religion, color, caste, or natural origin. The move has been strongly endorsed by advocacy group Coalition of Hindus of North America. In a social media post, the group thanked the senators for supporting the needs of the Hindu community in Georgia and the US. In April 2023, Georgia passed a resolution condemning Hinduphobia and anti-Hindu bigotry. Hindus for Human Rights, another advocacy group, meanwhile, has consistently rejected the notion of systemic Hinduphobia in the US or in India. It has said the criticism of caste, Hindutva or Hinduism itself must not be construed as anti-Hindu sentiment. There have been several instances of attacks on Hindu temples across the US. And in March 2024, the iconic Babs Sri Swaminarayan Mandir in Southern California was desecrated with anti-Hindu and anti-Indian government graffiti. In September, Babs Swaminarayan Temple in New York was vandalized, sparking strong reactions from the Indian consulate in New York. In December, a similar incident of vandalism against Sri Swaminarayan Mandir Hindu Temple in California signaled towards a possible hate crime. Experts suggest that this is not just limited to violence and vandalism, but also manifesting in the form of discrimination, racism, bigotry in other spheres of public and social life, such as in politics and educational institutes. According to reports, the US is home to over 5 million people of Indian origin, with a significant portion identifying as Hindus. A 2023-24 study by Pew Research Center showing that Hindus make up around 0.9% of the US population, which is about 2.5 million people. In Georgia alone, there are over 40,000 Hindus, as per data shared by the state of Georgia. Our world today is fraught with danger. The tensions between the West and Russia are rapidly escalating. Russia says the future of nuclear arms control with the US and others looks bleak for now. While Trump has ordered to speed up the production of new nuclear weapons, our next story taking a closer look at why the risk of nuclear warfare is at its highest point in decades. Take a look.
As the world teeters on a knife's edge, saber-rattling is at fever pitch, especially the nuclear kind. The US Air Force shared this footage of its nuclear-capable B-52 bombers, underground missile silos, and a missile launch. A reminder that America is watching, with its nuclear capability real and intact. From the depths of the Pacific to the skies over Arctic, nations are racing to perfect their nuclear triads. The land, sea, and air arsenals are designed to survive any attack and strike back with apocalyptic force. So, what exactly is a nuclear triad, and why does it matter? A nuclear triad refers to a country's ability to deliver nuclear weapons in 3 ways. Land-based ICBMs hidden in hardened underground silos, submarine-launched ballistic missiles stealthily patrolling the oceans, air-delivered bombs and missiles dropped from long-range strategic bombers. Each arm of the triad is built on a simple principle: survivability. If one part is destroyed in a first strike, the other 2 can respond, ensuring mutual assured destruction. It's a brutal logic if everyone can retaliate. No one strikes first. Today, only 4 countries have a full nuclear triad. The US, that pioneered the doctrine, Russia, that has the world's largest nuclear stockpile, China, that is rapidly modernizing all three legs, and India, that recently entered the elite club after acquiring its sea-based deterrent. Nuclear triads aren't relics, they're active deterrents, and the world's most powerful nations are once again making sure theirs are visible, to remind everyone what's at stake. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Forget family trees. Elon Musk seems to be cultivating an entire forest. Musk, who is planning to one day colonize Mars, it might not be long before the world gets to witness a daycare on the red planet with only Musk's offsprings. Let's tell you what we're talking about. According to a Wall Street Journal report, Elon Musk is attempting to create a legion of children. The aim basically is to have as many children as possible. What's the reason though? Musk believes that declining birth rates pose an existential risk to civilization. And according to the report, Musk is actively using X to solicit potential mothers and going as far as suggesting surrogacy to speed up the process. Musk's ambition to establish a sprawling dynasty was brought to light when Ashley St. Clair, social media influencer and mother of his 14th child, revealed that he offered her a $15 million lump sum and $100,000 in monthly child support in exchange for her silence about their child. St. Clair revealing that she ultimately declined Musk's offer. The Tesla CEO is confirmed to have fathered at least 14 children with 4 known women. This includes influencer St. Clair, singer Gramps, Neuralink executive Siobhan Zilis, and ex-wife Justin Musk. It is believed that the true number of Musk's children is much higher than what the public is aware of. Siobhan Zilis, mother of 4 of Musk's children, reportedly holds a special status among all the mothers. Zilis has been publicly present alongside Musk at several high-profile events, including meetings with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and a pre-inauguration dinner for global leaders and tech executives. The Wall Street Journal also mentioning Tiffany Fong, a Japanese cryptocurrency influencer. Fong reportedly received a direct message from Musk on the platform X, asking whether she would be willing to mother his child, a proposal that she declined, citing a desire for a traditional family. Meanwhile, Musk has reacted to the report on X, suggesting that TMZ, a gossip website that reports on celebrity news, is better than WSJ. And on Gravitas, quote unquote, we tell you about what the Russian President Vladimir Putin has said about Elon Musk. Speaking to students at Moscow State University in Moscow, Putin has lauded Musk, describing him as a rare visionary. Speaking on Russia's space policy at the student meeting, Putin reportedly described Musk as absolutely crazy about Mars. He said, and I'm quoting now, "You know, there's a man, he lives in the United States, Musk, who one might say raves about Mars, quote unquote." Having said so, Putin drew a parallel between Musk and a key figure in the Soviet space race, Sergei Korolev, who led the USSR space program during the space race with the US in the 1950s and 1960s. And that's not all. Putin also implied that people like Musk are truly rare. Putin also said, and I'm quoting further, "It's not often that such people charged with a certain idea appear in the human population," quote unquote.
The first thing that needs to be solved is the problem of a long and safe stay of a person in space, and not just in near space, but in deep space. Secondly, we need to solve the issue of new ways of transmitting information. Thirdly, this is to provide energy for future objects.
However, it's not the first time that Putin has praised Musk. Last year, in an interview with former Fox News anchor Tucker Carlson, the Russian president said there is no stopping Elon Musk and spoke of his desire to find common ground on areas like AI. In 2023, when Musk reportedly refused to let Ukraine use Starlink internet to launch a surprise attack on Russian naval vessels in Crimea. Putin praised the entrepreneur as an outstanding person and businessman. Being all praise about Musk, Putin also commented on the success of SpaceX later that week. But as you know, praise often comes with its own vested interest, and Putin might not be without one himself. Following the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Russia's space agency was sanctioned, and the European Space Agency was forced to rely on Musk's SpaceX rocket system until the premiere of its own launch last year. Not just that, time and again, Putin has expressed his hope and ambition regarding expanding Russia's space exploration, particularly so in the domain of deep space travel. However, Musk, as you know, is not foolproof, with strong allegations against him for doubling as a pro-Kremlin mouthpiece. In the past, Musk has criticized the provision of American aid to Kiev without an end game. Therefore, it only adds up why Putin showers praise on Musk whenever an occasion arises and needs him in the same team as his. On to the U.S. now. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has made another controversial claim. He has declared autism to be a rapidly growing epidemic in the U.S. while linking environmental toxins to it. Not just that, he also vowed to identify the environmental toxin that he says is causing the rising cases of autism in America. He said that autism overall is increasing at an alarming rate. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, autism has increased from 1 in 36 children in 2020 to 1 in 31 in 2022 in the U.S.
The ASD prevalence rate in 8-year-olds is now 1 in 31. Shocking. There's an extreme risk for boys. Overall, the risk for boys of getting an autism diagnosis in this country is now 1 in 20. And as high in California, which has the best data collection. So it probably also reflects the national trend, 1 in 12.5 boys. This is part of an unrelenting upward trend.
And that's not all. Speaking to reporters, he made the startling claim that autism is preventable, a statement that in a way contradicts the findings of researchers within Kennedy's own agency. He also says genes alone don't cause epidemics, while claiming that environmental toxins are to be blamed. This, of course, is not the first time that Kennedy has made claims without backing them with evidence or science. In the past, Kennedy has linked autism to vaccines, an idea that has been thoroughly refuted. Autism is a serious and a sensitive issue, after all. A developmental disability caused by differences in the brain. Even as researchers are not sure as to what causes autism, they believe that genetic and environmental factors play a significant role. In the US, about 1 in 36 children getting diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, on an average. As per the CDC, it is a health disorder that needs more awareness and research. It also calls for greater access to medical care and not disinformation that can do more harm than good. Shifting focus for now to the aftermath of the Trump tariffs onslaught. In the latest, the Federal Reserve Chairman has offered a mixed outlook on the U.S. economy, cautioning about the risks posed by the tariffs while reaffirming the resilience of the broader economic landscape and emerging digital assets. With inflation expected to dip and the U.S. economy showing resilience, Powell acknowledged that tariff impacts could still lead to slower growth in the coming months. In fact, he pointed out that the Fed's policy stance would largely depend on future economic data, and any adjustments would depend on whether tariff-driven price hikes turn into sustained inflation. And in the other update that's been making global headlines, France's Hermes will reportedly fully shift the burden of tariffs in the U.S. to its wealthy clientele. The company said this on Thursday as it posted first quarter sales that slightly missed the market expectations in a rare show of weakness The brand is known for its Kelly and Birkin handbags. The finance chief has said, quote, "We are going to fully offset the impact of these new duties by increasing our selling prices in the US from May 1 across all our business lines," quote unquote. Hermès' first quarter sales were dragged down by a continued lull in China, but were still better than peers. And as the family-controlled Hermès adapts to the trade war unleashed by US President Donald Trump's tariffs, it is banking on its pricing power as one of the most exclusive luxury brands to add a premium to all products sold in the United States. That will be on top of regular price adjustments that were around 6 to 7% this year. You see, the luxury industry has been counting on wealthy Americans to reignite growth for the sector. But after Trump's April tariff announcements sent stock markets and the dollar plunging, the sector is bracing for what could be its longest slump in years. Shifting focus for now, we've stared at the stars for millennia, asking the same haunting question: are we alone? And now the universe might just be whispering back. In a tantalizing new discovery, the most definitive signs of life have been found on a distant planet. Take a look.
What if the first hint of life beyond Earth isn't a message from aliens, but a faint chemical whisper from a faraway world? That's exactly what the James Webb Space Telescope might have found. An exciting clue that could change everything we know about life in the universe. Scientists say the planet holds the most promising hints of potential life on a planet beyond our solar system. But hold on, we can't just hop onto a spacecraft or send a probe just yet. This planet is located about 124 light-years away from Earth. K2-18b, a mysterious planet orbiting its star in the Goldilocks zone. This is basically like the location of our planet. Not too hot, not too cold, just right for liquid water. Scientists have long wondered if this planet could support life. Now, Webb's powerful instruments have detected a gas called dimethyl sulfide in its atmosphere, a gas produced only by living things on Earth like algae and bacteria. Faint heartbeat from across the galaxy. It's not proof of aliens yet, but it's the strongest hint we've had so far. The planet's thick atmosphere and possible oceans could be home to strange alien life forms, maybe microbes thriving under conditions very different from Earth's.
This moment in history of science will be viewed as a paradigm shift in our search for life. And the reason for that is that we have breached the level where we are demonstrating that if there is life out there, if there are Haitian worlds out there, these ocean worlds with hydrogen atmospheres with life on them, we are basically establishing here that we can detect that kind of like signature, those kinds of planets and biosignatures in them. So that is a paradigm shift in our understanding.
However, some scientists urge caution. K2-18b is much bigger than Earth and much hotter, with a thick hydrogen atmosphere that might make life difficult. There's still a chance that the DMS could come from non-living chemical reactions. This discovery is thrilling because this chemica has never been spotted on another planet before. On Earth, it's a clear sign of life. The James Webb Telescope will keep watching. K2-18b, gathering more data to confirm if this gas really signals life. If confirmed, this would be the most groundbreaking discovery in human history. A cosmic first step in answering the age-old question: are we alone?
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. We're leaving you with Gravitas Worldview. This is me, Molly Company, signing off. Thanks for watching.
dive into your daily dose of news.
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
It's time to celebrate Easter, but not without a list of movies to binge watch. Meet Sumit Vyas and Shubhra Jyoti Bharat as they talk about their stage play Saap Seedhi. And know all about the evolution of everyone's favorite fashion staple, the humble skirt. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
This week on Tech It Out, we show you smart glasses built specifically for blind people. We also tell you how artificial intelligence is helping detect oil spills. And we take you on a tour of an exhibition dedicated completely to AI. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
We estimate that North Korea probably has between 60 and 80 nuclear weapons.
North Korea is very secretive about its actual capabilities. It has tested a number of ballistic missiles over the past 2 to 3 years.
This week on the West Asia Post. Despite tripling sanctions from the West, Iran powers on with Russia and Chinese backers. Will the ongoing nuclear talks see Washington reset its ties with Tehran? Civilians in Gaza continue to pay the price of war as Israel bars aid from entering the war-torn enclave. Also on the show, we talk about the plight of the Alawites in Syria. And the security threat faced by Jordan. Catch the West Asia Post only on WION World is One.
Catch me at Token Money Magnet, only on WION.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
Hello and welcome. You're watching WION The World. This one. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look at what is making headlines at this hour. Now, Russia warns Germany that it will treat the Taurus missile strikes as a direct German involvement in the Ukraine war.